Uh, so hello everyone. Let us continue with the fourth Duino elegy. In this elegy, the poet draws, or he draws on the metaphor of puppetry in the fourth elegy. What is puppet? Who is a puppet? A puppet is a kind of a doll or a figure that cannot move by itself, right? Its movements are controlled by another person called a puppeteer. Okay, so puppetry is the act of, a puppet being controlled by a puppeteer. Okay, so he will draw on this metaphor of puppetry in this for elegy. So in this elegy, Rilke focuses on a different kind of struggle, which is the conflict within human beings themselves. Okay, he will use the image of a puppet and a dancer. So let us see. So um, normally we might think that a puppet is not desirable. We don't want to be a puppet because a puppet is controlled by someone else, right? However, Rilke will give this image of a puppet a deeper meaning. So the puppet, according to Rilke, it represents, it represents a person guided by a higher spiritual wisdom. Okay, such a person acts, naturally and harmoniously without confusion or conflict, right? A puppet represents a person guided by a higher spiritual wisdom. Okay, now uh, mm, he also brings the idea of a dancer. A dancer, on the other hand, symbolizes ordinary human beings who are constantly trying to prove themselves. They keep moving, performing, seeking approval, but they often feel empty inside. See, ordinarily, a puppet means someone who is controlled, right? But then for Rilke, the idea of a puppet is someone who is guided by a higher spiritual wisdom. And because that person is guided by a higher spiritual wisdom, that person acts without confusion or without inner conflict, right? However, the image of a dancer represents, symbolizes ordinary human beings who are constantly trying to prove themselves because they keep moving, right? For example, um, um, a person may achieve fame, we may achieve success and recognition, but we can still we can still feel dissatisfied, and we cannot have a sense of satisfaction because their outer actions do not match their inner needs. Okay, but Rilke here longs for the longs for the unity and peace symbolized by the puppet. Okay, so let us, to understand this contrast better, let us look more closely at what the puppet represents. Okay, see, uh, human beings often struggle to live in harmony with themselves. Their thoughts, feelings, and actions are frequently disconnected, causing confusion and dissatisfaction in life. Okay, sometimes we know what is right, but we do something different. Sometimes we want one thing, but we pursue another. So we have this inner conflict. Humans have this inner conflict, right? We want to do something, but we end up doing another. We know that something is not right, but we end up doing it anyway, right? We constantly have this inner conflict. But the puppet, who is controlled by the angel, symbolizes a person whose life is guided by truth, because angel represents truth and perfection, right? Guided by truth and wisdom. Okay, uh, example, imagine someone who clearly understands their purpose in life and acts according to their values. Such a person will experience harmony, sense of harmony, because their thoughts, beliefs, and actions are clearly united. right? So Rilke envies this state because most human beings struggle with uncertainty. Most of us, we are torn between our different desires, we are torn between expectations, right? As a result, life becomes very complicated and confusing, right? But a puppet controlled by an angel, because it is controlled by a higher wisdom, it does not have any inner conflict like us. It is not torn between confusions. It is not torn between expectations like us. It is, uh, it is a puppet. That puppet who is controlled by a higher wisdom experiences a sense of harmony. Right now, the dancer. The dancer represents ordinary human beings who fill their lives with endless activity but often lack inner peace. As we continue reading, just see. Example, a student may spend years chasing grades and achievements without ever asking what truly makes them happy. Okay, a dancer keeps dancing, like trying to please others, seeking meaning through their activity and performance. We are like ordinary human beings, are like the dancer. We spend years chasing, things without ever asking what truly makes us happy. Are we really doing things that makes us happy? Like, another example is a professional may work tirelessly for success, uh, while neglecting, deeper questions about purpose, fulfillment, just sweating it out, but having no sense of purpose and fulfillment. Okay, so Rilke is suggesting that much of our life resembles that of the dancer. Okay, the dancer and the endless performance. When people, many of us, we act according to society's expectations rather than our own desire, right? And then the angel by contrast, uh, represents complete harmony between thought and action. The puppet who is controlled by the angel represents complete harmony between thought and action. No classes of opinions, no tone in between, and all that. Okay, so under such guidance like that of the angel, there is no need for constant performance, because uh, there is no need for constant performance. Okay, now Rilke then, he talked to us about the image of the dancer, image of the puppet in the hands of the puppeteer, in the hands of the angel, right? And he prefers to be like a puppet in the hands of the angel, who is guided with reason, who is guided with harmony, not like that of the dancer who constantly, have conflict between his heart and what he does outwardly, right? Now, uh, Rilke now shows the tragedy of life through the example of a child who dies young. Okay, he is going to another point, just to emphasize the sadness and uncertainty of life. Rilke will talk about a child who dies young. Okay, so what does a child represents? A child represents innocence. A child represents purity. A child experience possibility, the dream of a good future, and all that. Right? See, children, they are young, so they have not experienced many of life's disappointments, conflicts, or hardships. For example, a young child sees the world with innocence, wonder, and curiosity. Okay, but when a child's life ends prematurely, when he or she dies, when a child dies early, it feels tragic. It feels so sad, because so much potential still remains unfulfilled, unrealized, right? So Rilke uses this image of a child to remind us that life is unpredictable. Human beings, we are human, so we cannot control everything that happens to us. So this uncertainty, right? This uncertainty of life, um, um, it really contributes to the idea of vulnerability, that runs throughout the elegies, that human, we are vulnerable to death, to loss, to meaninglessness, right? So all these reflections he talks about in this fourth elegy. He talks about the dancer, he talks about the puppet in the hands of the angel, he talks about a child who dies very young. So all these reflections lead us to the central message of the fourth elegy. What does the fourth elegy really want to teach us? So the main idea of the fourth elegy is that human life is full of uncertainty, loneliness, and inner struggle. Okay, Rilke believes that people often feel disconnected from their true selves and from the deeper meaning of existence, like that of the dancer, right? Constantly performing without realizing, am I really happy performing this dance? Right. The poet expresses a longing for a state of harmony and spiritual understanding that humans really achieve. It is better to be a puppet, to be a puppet, to be someone who does not move freely, but to be guided by a spiritual wisdom, like an angel. Okay, so through reflections on innocence, suffering, and human weakness, Rilke shows that life is a constant search for wholeness and purpose in a confusing world. Okay, so the poem, the elegy, expresses a desire for a more unified way of living, symbolized by the puppet guided by the angel. Okay, at the same time, Rilke acknowledges that uncertainty, loneliness, and suffering are unavoidable parts of human life. Right. So the fourth elegy teaches that life is not simply about achieving success, it is about seeking inner harmony, inner understanding. It, it is not simply about achieving success, it is about looking for wholeness and purpose, looking for harmony and understanding. Okay. Now, having explored the inner struggles of human beings, Rilke now turns to a fascinating good images in the fifth elegy. Okay, so this is a very interesting part of the Duino elegy, and um, we will see how this elegy this elegy employs images like the images in the world of circus performers and acrobats who will become very symbolic. All right. The fifth elegy is dedicated to Frau Hertha Koenig, a woman who owned a house where Rilke lived for several months. There she had a print of the Picasso masterpiece, Family of Saltimbanquis, which depicts a group of itinerant circus performers amid a harsh, empty landscape. All right. So, Rilke draws inspiration from a painting by the famous artist called Pablo Picasso, and Pablo Picasso painted Family of Saltimbanquis. Okay, so this painting shows a group of traveling circus performers standing in a lonely and empty landscape. Okay, so this is made by Picasso, the famous painter. So Rilke becomes fascinated by these performers because their lives symbolize the human condition. Okay, see, circus artists, no, they travel from place to place, performing difficult acts for audiences, right? They entertain others, yet they spend their time entertaining others, performing difficult acts, but then we see that their own lives are often uncertain and unstable. Okay, excuse me. All havo. Right. So, see, an acrobat. Who is an acrobat? It is. It is also a acrobat is a part of a circus performer. Right. So, uh, Mm, See, for example, an acrobat may spend years performing dangerous stunts skills, but after the performance ends, the applause quickly ends. Don't you think so? So, Rilke sees a similarity between these performers and all human beings. Okay, like the acrobats, like the circus performers, people work hard, we struggle, we seek meaning in a world where everything is temporary. Okay. He wonders if the acrobats provide little more than a distraction from the audience's ever present fear of death. Finally, he considers the acrobats to be a metaphor for lovers. Right. Mm, uh, so he compared the life of acrobats and circus performers to that of the human condition itself. Okay, now let us go to the next. See, Rilke thinks about the difficult lives of these performers. Even though they entertain people, make them happy, their own lives are often uncertain and full of hardship. For example, a circus artist may perform dangerous tricks every day while having little security or comfort. Rilke wonders why these acrobats work so hard for audiences who only watch for a short time and then leave. He suggests that people enjoy performances because they help them forget their worries and fears, especially the fear of death. For example, when people watch a circus movie or show, they may temporarily escape from the problems and sadness of everyday life. Okay. See, for a short time, when people watch circus shows, they forget their problems and they become very absorbed in the performance. Right. So, circus shows provide, temporary relief from life's anxiety. Okay. So Rilke is not criticizing entertainment. Instead, he is showing how how deeply we human beings needs moments of beauty and distraction in order to cope with the realities of anxieties and existence. Right, let me repeat again. Rilke is not just criticizing, this entertainment, these acrobats and performers. He's not criticizing them. He is showing how deeply we human beings need moments of beauty and distraction, okay, in order to cope with the realities of existence. Just as people come towards the shows, the circus shows, and be carried away, be absorbed in the performance, they forget about their life's anxieties for a while. They get absorbed in the show. Just like that, Rilke is pointing out that we need moments of beauty and distraction in order to cope up with the difficulties, with the challenges of existence. Okay, uh, and then towards the end of the Elegy, Rilke will develop a deeper comparison between performers and lovers. Okay, towards the end of the fifth elegy, Rilke compares the acrobats to lovers. Just as acrobats balance carefully on ropes and perform risky acts, lovers also take emotional risks and try to create moments of beauty and happiness. Very beautiful, isn't it? So, when people fall in love, you know what? They make themselves very vulnerable, right? They open their hearts, even though they know they may experience disappointment, even though they know that they may experience separation or loss. They open their hearts fully. They are wholly dedicated, right? So, uh, mm, see, every meaningful relationship involves trust. Now that we know, right? Uh, Trust always carries some risks because another person may hurt us, leave us, or misunderstand us. Yet, people continue to love despite the risks. No? So, just as the acrobat continues performing despite danger, right? Lovers continue seeking connection despite uncertainty. Okay, so Rilke suggests that both performers and lovers are they create moments of beauty in a fragile and temporary world. Okay, So the what is the similarity drawn again? Let us just examine the similarity between acrobats and lovers. Just as like acrobat an acrobat balances carefully on a rope, always facing the possibility of falling. Now, he might fall, he might stumble, he might disappoint. Just like that, lovers also, we take emotional risks, right? We know that our partner can leave anytime. We know that the relationship may not last, or we know that death can separate, or even death can separate the lovers. But we take the risks and we try to live on with the love. We try to love despite the risks involved in love, right? So he compares performers and lovers, that both performance and lovers, they create moments of beauty in a very fragile and uncertain world. Okay, so this comparison will help us understand the deeper message of the fifth elegy. So what is the core idea of the fifth elegy? The central idea of the fifth elegy explores how people search for meaning and beauty despite the hardships of life. Through the image of circus performers, Rilke shows that human beings often use art, entertainment, and love to cope with suffering, loneliness, and the awareness of death. Right? People know that life is temporary. People know that death is unavoidable. Yet we continue to create art, we continue to build relationships, we continue to pursue dreams, we continue to seek happiness, right? For example, musicians continue composing music, artists continue their painting, lovers continue loving even though everything eventually changes. So this elegy teaches that, like, meaning is not found by escaping suffering. We cannot escape suffering. We try to find beauty and meaning despite suffering, right? But he says that we cannot escape suffering, but meaning is created through the way people respond to suffering. Okay, how we respond to suffering: with courage, with creativity, with love, with perseverance. That is how meaning is created in suffering. How we respond to that suffering is how meaning is created, because we cannot escape that suffering, right? But how we respond to our suffering, our hardship, is how meaning is created. Okay, so having explored the performers and lovers, we will now go to the sixth elegy. Here Rilke will introduce a new symbol, which is the fig tree, and through this image he will teach an important lesson about action, purpose, and fulfilling one's potential. So in the sixth elegy, Rilke compares human life to a fig tree. Unlike most trees, the fig tree does not show its flowers openly. Its flowers remain hidden and are only revealed through the fruit it produces. This means that the tree does not spend time showing off its beauty. It quietly moves towards its purpose of bearing fruit. Right. Rilke admires the quality of the fig tree because the tree focuses on its purpose rather than its appearance. Okay, see, it does not show its flowers openly. It quietly moves towards its purpose of bearing fruit. Right. See, Rilke, then he contrasts with this with many human beings. People, people often spend much of their lives in the state of flowering, trying to grow, achieve success, gain recognition, or enjoy life's pleasures. They may become so focused on preparing for life that they never fully accomplish what they are capable of. Right. See, people often spend years preparing for life rather than actually living it. For example, someone may constantly talk about writing a book, starting a business, or helping society, but never take the first step. They remain in a state of endless preparation. Right. But the fig tree in this sixth elegy will teach us a different lesson. The fig tree does not spend time showing off. Right. it quietly fulfills its purpose. Right. So Rilke suggested people should do the same by um, using their talents and abilities, not just to show off, not just to, but to create something meaningful, to create a fruit, to produce fruit. Right. The poet then, explains why this lesson is so important, because by discussing the shortness of human life and the courage of heroes like Samson. Okay, because human life is short and death is unavoidable, Rilke admires heroes who live boldly and accept their fate. He mentions figures such as Samson who do not try to avoid danger or death. Instead, they act courageously and fulfill their destiny, even when it leads to destruction. For Rilke, such heroes understand that life gains meaning through action, not through endless preparation. Okay, uh, let us see another example. A student who dreams of becoming a teacher. Okay, one student spends years talking about becoming a teacher but never takes action. Another begins studying, gains experience, pursue the goal despite difficulties. So the second person is like Rilke's hero here. Okay, is the one who takes action. The one who takes action. He says that life gains meaning through action. So he believes that people should not waste their lives waiting endlessly. Since time is limited, we should use our abilities while we have the opportunity. Right? See, human life is short and no one can escape that. So, because of this, Rilke respects people who act boldly rather than spending their lives hesitating to start. Right? He mentions heroic figures like Samson. See, Samson did not wait for perfect circumstances. Right? Mm, they accept their risks, and he accept people like Samson accept their risks and they fulfill their destiny. They don't wait for a time to come for them to show off their, to bear fruit and all that. Right? They do when uh, they accept risks and then they fulfill their destiny. They don't try to avoid danger or death. They act courageously. So Rilke is teaching us that we should not waste our lives waiting endlessly for ideal conditions. Right? Since time is limited, we should use our abilities while we have the opportunity. Okay. Like the fig tree that naturally produces fruit, humans should use their talents and live fully before time runs out. Let us be courageous. Let us not be coward. Let us remember that our time is limited, that our time is ticking. A meaningful life comes from acting with courage and purpose rather than remaining forever in a state of possibility. What if? What if? Not that. Okay? It has to be now. This brings us to the core message of the sixth elegy. So, the sixth elegy teaches that life should be lived with courage and purpose, like the heroes that he mentioned. Since death is certain, people should not waste their lives endlessly preparing or seeking perfection. Instead, they should take action, they should fulfill their potential, and they should create something meaningful while they have the chance. I think this is very clear. Okay, because that is certain, people should act while they can. Okay, this does not mean acting recklessly, acting without proper thinking. It means, like using the talents, using our gifts, pursuing meaningful goals, contributing something valuable to the world. Right? Is see, a meaningful life is not measured by how long we live, but how fully we can use the time we are given. No, let me repeat. A meaningful life is not measured by how long we live, but how fully we use the time that we are given. Right. So we have discussed the fourth, fifth, and sixth elegy in this video. In the next video, I will cover 7, 8, 9, and 10, and then we will proceed with symbols and themes as well. Okay, so these are beautiful message given to us through the elegies. Please read it and be inspired by it. All right, thank you.